4 key factors for you to consider when you're doing healthcare research in Ethiopia. Salam, salam. Welcome to another episode of Leading Health. So, thank you guys always for connecting, for engaging, for exploring leading health with me. Much appreciated. I'm a Saganalo. So, today we are going to be exploring how you can actually facilitate good quality international research in Ethiopia. Guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. So, Ethiopia is an amazing place, but not enough international organizations actually come to Ethiopia to do research. I think one of the issues is when you look on the news, all you see is like war and conflict. But actually, when you arrive in Ethiopia, you will realize what an amazing place it is to do research and how your research can have a real world impact on people's lives. I like to sit on the window seat anytime I'm like flying into Ethiopia, just because of the amazing views. You get to see all of the infrastructure. And when you get into the airport, you'll be actually shocked at how developed it is and how modernized everything is. It's actually amazing. So that's something I enjoy doing. I remember when I invited my friends to Ethiopia, and initially they were very, very skeptical. But when they came, they absolutely loved it. We went to the lake, we went around Addis, we went to all of the traditional restaurants and saw all of the sites. And actually, they're now thinking they want to come back. I have done research in Ethiopia. So what do you need to be able to do good quality research when you come to Ethiopia? I'm going to be laying down some of the key factors that you need to take into consideration. The first point that you need to be aware of is understanding and appreciating the culture. Now, Ethiopia is a country with a rich and diverse culture. It is really essential as a researcher to understand the customs and the traditions that underpin the local communities and the culture, especially when you're conducting research in Ethiopia. So things like sharing food and drink is a really important part of the Ethiopian culture. I actually got this cup from one of my friends in Ethiopia and I use it all the time wherever I am. It's got a bit of a crack in it, but I still use it. Aww. So one of the other things that you really need to be aware of is, how you can go about interacting with the locals and how you can go about having an impact when you arrive in Ethiopia. So when we're thinking about the culture, what you want to be able to do is to engage, especially around the food. So whenever I'm in Ethiopia, I love to eat some injera. I'll have some shuro, some tibs, some kitfo, some dolowot, and then I'll drink down some taj, and then I'll also finish it off with a massive coffee ceremony because I love coffee as well. So when I'm in Ethiopia and I'm doing my research, and I remember last year after we did our research, I did some training with my Ethiopian research assistants. Then afterwards, we went to an Ethiopian restaurant and we all shared some injera and tibs and kitfo and had lots of drinks. And that's an amazing part of immersing yourself in the wonderful culture. So the second key point you need to be aware of is the language. Ethiopia has over 80 different languages, with Amharic being one of the main languages in Ethiopia. So I'm trying to sort of learn some basic Amharic myself at the moment. This is because I visit Ethiopia quite a lot and I like to try and engage with the people. When you're doing research, it's important to hire a local interpreter. So I have one that I always use. He's actually amazing. And there are lots of people in Ethiopia that speak really good English. So it's important to hire them and to pay them well as well. It's also important for you to try and learn some basic phrases. I'm still, learning, so that's really appreciated by the locals. From a research point of view, one of the things that I do is I translate all of my interviews and all of my surveys into Amharic, and this helps the locals to be able to give you accurate information when you're doing your research. The third key point you need to be aware of is getting permission and approvals when you arrive in Ethiopia. You should try and obtain the necessary permissions and approvals from the correct authorities before you actually start doing your research. I was so lucky because I was able to get really top level access to some of the top healthcare institutions in Ethiopia. And we were able to do some really powerful research as a result of it. So what you want to do is prepare the details of your research in advance. So I like to prepare my research overview and then send it off. I also consider all of the ethical implications. Again, that is really, really important. So all of my research in Ethiopia always gets the necessary ethical approvals before I even start conducting any data collection. And that's a really important element of things. So once you get the ethical approval, and sometimes it can take time. So whilst you're waiting for all the documents to come in, that's a good opportunity to relax, go and enjoy the food, which I love, enjoy the culture, and actually take in some of the sites before you start doing your research. That will also give you a good contextual understanding of the Ethiopian environment. So number 4, what you want to try and do is to collaborate with local partners. Collaborating with local partners such as universities and non-governmental organizations can be a really important and beneficial relationship, not just for you, but also for those partners as well. So what I do whenever I'm doing research in Ethiopia is, number 1, I identify the partners that I want to work with before I even arrive. And most partners you'll find are really engaging and they want to work with you. Number 2, I try and build up relationships with the partners. This is really important for successful projects and something that I have seen in my own research. Number 3, as soon as I land, I try and make an appointment and I go and visit those partners in person, and we try and actually establish the parameters on which we are going to deliver the research. So the 5th thing that you need to take into consideration is the dissemination of your research findings. So the dissemination of your research findings through appropriate channels can help to ensure that your research has the widest possible impact. That's something that's really important to me. So this is about sharing your findings with policymakers and practitioners and communicating to them through the appropriate channels. So this can be through reports, through presentations, through publications. When I went to Ethiopia at the start of this year, what I did is I went there specifically to disseminate my research findings from last year. So I did that with different groups. So I had some really productive talks and conversations with different institutions within Ethiopia, and we're still in contact, and I'm really looking forward to working with them on bigger projects moving forward, especially impact projects for Ethiopia. Before I left Ethiopia on my most recent trip, I like to relax. So what I do is I go to the lake. I love the lake. There's some amazing resorts there. You can relax, take in all the good energy and the good sort of weather. The food is obviously amazing. And I just love being around water. And that's something that helps me to relax after a really intensive research trip. So guys, those are the 5 key things you need to know when you want to do good quality international research in Ethiopia. Subscribe, thumbs up, let's keep connecting, let's keep interconnecting, and let's keep leading health better.